Hello, my cookies. Welcome to Russell Cooks. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today, I have a nice little beef soup. It's got coconut, it's got lemongrass, it's got galangal. It has all these bright, amazing flavors. This is light and bright. It's a perfect summer dish. Now, I'm going to be doing a couple different things, kind of omitting and skipping some stuff. I'm going to try and keep it easy so we can do this weeknight friendly. First things first, let's gather our ingredients. For the toppings, we got shallot, lime, Thai basil, cherry tomatoes, cilantro. You're also going to need a neutral cooking oil, safflower, sunflower, canola. That's what I'm going to be using to fry these shallots. For the soup, you are going to need about between a pound and 2 pounds, depending on how much you want to make, of stew meat, beef chuck, anything that'll braise nicely. This is already chopped up, cut up for me. I'm also going to be adding in some baby bok choy, galangal. This is like Thai ginger. Kind of looks between a cross of ginger and sunchoke. You need garlic, some lemongrass. I'm doing some shallot as well in there. Some regular ginger. I'm using a little bit of chicken broth. Now, if you can find these fresh, get them. Makrut lime leaves. I couldn't, so I got them dried. They have this amazing citrus flavor. It is so unique. It's hard to replace. So I have some of these dried. I'm just going to use a handful. You're also going to need about a cup of coconut milk. And if you don't like coconut, this is really a coconut forward dish. You kind of want to use it, but if for whatever reason you can always sub some heavy cream, that's fine. You're also going to need some milk, and of course, last but not least, you're going to need some salt. So now that we've gathered our ingredients, let's get cooking. The first thing I'm going to do is my shallots. You take a few minutes. I can prep while they're microwaving, and then they gotta cool. Now you can make as many or as little of these shallots as you want. Key to this is you want even slices. You want even cooking. So be consistent with your slices and then adjust the cook time accordingly. Try and slice them about 1/8 of an inch thick. All right, let's get this in your microwave safe bowl or Pyrex or whatever. Just make sure it's really microwave safe and can withstand high temperatures. Next up, I'm just gonna pour in enough oil. And the other beauty is you can use this oil elsewhere. You can make a mayonnaise out of this oil. You can drizzle this oil on things. This is gonna be a deliciously shalloty oil. Just gonna stir this around, kind of break up the shallot, make sure everything's nicely coated here in oil. I'm going to microwave this for 5 minutes, maybe 3 to 5. It depends on the power of your microwave. You want to have it start getting kind of like starting to almost get golden brown. And then we're going to do it kind of like a minute, 30 seconds at a time, stirring it to get that even golden browning. And while that's going, let's prep our other ingredients. I'm going to start with the lemongrass because it's relatively easy. You're pretty much only going to use this. Can you chop this up and throw it in? Absolutely. But I'm just going to bruise it up, leave them whole, and just throw it in. All right. And then what you do is you pretty much just bang it up. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave this end kind of intact. Now, if you were chopping this up and throwing it in, you'd probably only use one of these. Bang it up like this and then chop it real fine. One of the areas I am making a little bit easier, kind of skipping some stuff, is the spices like garlic and galangal and whatnot are typically kind of pureed up into a very fine paste. You don't want any chunks and whatnot in this soup. I'm not doing that, right? I'm just gonna mince it up. So I got 5 garlic cloves that I just minced up here. I'm gonna be doing about 1 shallot. I'm gonna try and mince it up here as well. I think my fried shallots, speaking of shallots, might be done. Let's have a gander. It just dinged. I put it in for another minute after stirring it. I'm gonna stir it again and put it in for 1 more minute. Total is 7 minutes. All right, you can kind of see this has been about 7 minutes. It's starting to get golden brown, but they're not quite there yet. I'm gonna put this in for maybe 1 more minute. All right, so it took about 8 minutes. I took them out. I strained the oil. I saved the oil because I want to use it. It's nice golden brown. I need to stop the cooking. So got them on a paper towel lined baking pan, seasoned them with salt. All right, let's mince up this shallot. Doesn't have to be perfect. Chopped fine is fine. Throw that in with my garlic. Let's move on to our ginger and our galangal. Get your Mr. Zesty. Don't be afraid of flavor. I'm going to do about maybe 2 inches of ginger on the microplane. Let's get that in there as well. Going to start turning blue or green. That is fine. That's oxidation. Normal. Don't fret. Next up is galangal. So it's like ginger, but it's a little bit rootier and woodier and harder to deal with. So I'm just going to mince it up real small. All right. So I'm just going to microplane this down. Probably a heaping tablespoon. Get that in there. All our spice mixes. Next up, bok choy. Wash this. These can be nasty dirty. So I've taken some of the big ones off and washed them individually. I'm just separating the leaves. So the leaves I'm separating because I'm going to stir them in kind of at the end. I don't want them to overcook. These guys here, it's going to have it through the root end. It's okay to use the root as well. Quarter it through the root end, and then I'm just going to cut maybe 1/2-inch pieces. Keep them relatively big. Let's get our chunky guys over here. You can always wash them again if you want. Really make sure to get the dirt off. You don't want grit here. All right, next up, leaves. I'm just going to chop them up a little bit. Not much. Doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to go through maybe 1/2-inch pieces here. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of oil. And I'm going to bring it up to temp over about medium heat. The idea here is not to get browning. All right, you don't really want these kind of like overpowering flavors. You want to keep it relatively light and bright, but it's still going to be pretty beefy. So we got a good amount of beef. I'm just going to add it. I'm going to render off the fat and take away the pink. Now, one of those things I'm doing is I'm skipping a step. A lot of times, especially in Asian countries, what they'll do is they'll boil the meat in water and kind of remove some of the scum and whatnot that, you know, the impurities that they pull out of the meat. If you want to do it that way, you absolutely can. I'm not doing that. It's time to get the meat in. I'm going to season this up with about 1.5 teaspoons of salt here. And again, about medium heat. I just really want to render that fat. I don't really want some nice browning. I just want to take away that pink. This is going to take 3 to 5 minutes. See this? We've rendered out some of this deliciousness. We're going to leave that there. Let's add our baby bok choy. Let's add our ginger, galangal, shallot, all the delicious flavor that we put in here. We're going to cook it until it's fragrant. I want to say 30 seconds, but it might take upwards of 1.5 minutes. This is so easy to do. This is going to be a fantastic soup. I already know ahead of time. I was a little on the fence because I'm shooting from the hip here. So we'll let that cook for about 60 more seconds. We're looking good. We'll put about 2 cups of this chicken broth in. Now it's time. Add the coconut milk. I got 1 cup here. Add more if you like. Again, we're not putting the milk in yet. I don't want this curdled. I'm not really going to bring this up to a roiling boil. I really just want this to simmer. Next up, don't forget your lemongrass. Get your lemongrass in there. Don't forget your lime leaves. Get your lime leaves in there. This is all just flavor. If you forget it, you're missing out on flavor. I'm going to try and bring it up to a very gentle simmer. So you want to bring it up to maybe 200 degrees. Drop the heat down. You want it going between 180 and 200. So I'm going to keep that going until this steak is tender. It's going to take anywhere between 30 and 60 minutes. So hang with me. All right, we got a gentle simmer. I'm dropping the heat all the way down and I'm just going to cover it. And depending on how big you cut your meat, I try to cut mine between, let's say about 1/2 inch, 30 minutes. Cut them a little bigger, might take upwards of 60 minutes. While that braises, let's focus on our toppings that we're going to be adding here. So I have some Thai basil. I'm just going to shred it by hand. This is different than regular basil. I would not use like Italian basil here. And then I got some cherry tomatoes. I'm just going to kind of like almost cut these into 8s, maybe quarters. You want them really bite size. All right, lime. I'm going to juice it up later. Let's get some cilantro. I love cilantro with this. I'm going to do what you shouldn't do and just chop off a bunch of leaves here. And I'm not going to mince this. I'm just going to try and chop it up. I like a good bite of cilantro. If you don't like cilantro because it tastes like soap, I feel bad for you. I got 99 problems, but that ain't one. Got our cilantro on this plate. I think we're pretty good. All right, we got our beef soup. Now it is time to add some of the milk. I like between 1 and 2 cups of milk. So let's do 1 cup, 2 cups of milk. Let's add in our baby bok choy leaves. Let's stir it around. And we're going to kind of let the temperature from the soup kind of wilt these leaves, bring the milk up. We're not going to curdle anything. If you come across some of these makrut lime leaves, go ahead, take them out and throw them out. Look at this. Look at how bright and nice this looks. I'm just going to taste it for seasonings. I'm going to put a teeny bit more milk in. I just want it a little bit lighter. Let's stir it around. Let's get in a bowl. Lemongrass stick. Now it's time for our toppings. So I have some Thai basil. I'm also going to put some tomatoes here. Let's do some cilantro. A little squeeze of lime. Oh, the fried shallots. Some of those right there. All right, I'm just gonna let's get a piece of meat here. Piece of bok choy, some fried shallot, a little bit of this hot broth. Oh my gosh. The broth is bright. Look Get that coconutiness, brings in a little bit of richness. But then the addition of that milk kind of mellowed things out, made it a little bit smoother, kind of carried things through. And all the flavors are there. The ginger, the garlic, the galangal, the lemongrass, the lime leaf, the meat. It's tender. It adds nice seasoning and flavor to the dish, but it's not the main star. It's one of the main stars here. It just all goes so well together. Oh, fried shallot. Yes, please. And you can spice this up too. If you want to make it your own, get some chilies in there. It's just slurp worthy. All right, so that was coconut braised beef soup with lemongrass and galangal. If you like what you saw, don't forget to check out my YouTube. I'm also on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope to see you next time. Take care.